So, as some of y'all know, Donald Trump nominated Kash Patel to be the director of the FBI. Obviously, he could, after doing some research, he could definitely be considered controversial. Um, I do like some of his stances. We'll see if he's really going to be able to practice what he's preaching. Definitely, the FBI needs a complete overhaul. Um, so we're definitely going to just kind of take a look at this questioning done by Josh Hawley. Definitely starting to kind of like Josh Hawley, kind of giving me, semi-populist vibes. Really cool with that, but we'll see what kind of happens. But let's take a look at this, and I'll give y'all some commentary.
Very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Patel, welcome. It's great to see you again. I enjoyed our conversation in my office a while back. Let me ask you this. Is it appropriate for the Federal Bureau of Investigation to attempt to recruit spies or informants into religious institutions in this country, particularly Catholic parishes? Is that appropriate?
I don't believe so, Senator.
Mr. Patel, are you familiar with the recent actions of the FBI in this regard, including this memo that I have right here, making a list of Catholic churches and parishes that they regard as potentially suspect and directing the potential recruitment of informants and other spies, let's be honest, into those parishes?
I'm familiar with that memo, Senator.
Mr. Patel, would you commit to me that you will, if you are confirmed, that you will finally and officially withdraw this memo and make it clear that this is not only unacceptable, but that it is an absolute violation of the First Amendment that every American enjoys under the Constitution of the United States?
If I'm confirmed, Senator, yes.
Will you also commit to me that you will conduct an investigation and find out who wrote this memo, who spread this memo, the field offices involved in this memo? Because I can tell you, we've had your predecessor sit right where you're sitting, and he has repeatedly lied to, there's no other word for it, lied to this committee. He told us initially that it didn't happen, that the FBI didn't make any list of churches. That's not true. We have it. A whistleblower brought forward the list for us. He said then that only one field office had worked on it. Turns out we know from another whistleblower, multiple field offices worked on it. He said that it was never posted on the internal system. It turns out it was. We believe it's still in effect. Will you find out who was involved in this gross abuse of Americans' First Amendment rights? And will you discipline them? And if you possibly can, will you fire them, Mr. Patel, consistent with department policy and law?
Senator, you have my commitment to investigate any matters such as this one that are important to Congress. I will fully utilize, if confirmed, the investigative powers of the FBI to give you the information you require and also to hold those accountable who violated the sacred trust placed in them at the FBI.
I'm glad to hear you say that, and I'm glad you used the word sacred trust, because that's exactly what it is. The FBI is the most powerful law enforcement body in this nation, arguably the most powerful law enforcement body, at least in a free nation in the world. And to have this body corrupted politically such that it is targeting people of faith in this country and then lying about it to this committee and the American people is unimaginable. I'll be honest with you. I never thought this would happen in the United States of America. I just didn't. If you had told me 5 years ago we'd be reading memos like this, I would have said, no way, that's bad fiction. In fact, it's a horrible reality. The department needs to be cleaned up, the agency does, and rights restored and protected. I'm glad to hear you say that. Let me ask you this.
So, this is where I kind of, if I was able to talk to Josh Hawley, I'd implore him, and especially anybody else running for office. Um, as a lot of black people, we have learned early on that the FBI and a lot of these other deep state actors, a lot of law enforcement are very corrupt. I've noticed over the past like 5, 10 years that a lot of white people are coming to this agreement. They're starting to become more aware of it, which is great. But speaking on that, we've known for a very long time that the FBI was implicitly involved with the Tennessee police to kill Martha King Jr. You can look at This book, it is called The Plot to Kill King. It was written by William F. Pepper, the lawyer for Coretta Scott King, when he filed a suit. Um, and a lot of this information was disclosed when she ended up winning her court case. Obviously, we all know that I forget the book. Uh, uh, yeah, the assassination of Fred Hampton. Uh, oh shit. The by Jeffrey Haas, who was also, if I remember correctly, he was the lawyer for Fred Hampton. Um, yeah, he was one of the lawyers that for Fred Hampton and the Black Panther Party. I was just double checking. It's been almost been a very long time since I read that book. Obviously, there's FBI involvement in the killing of Martin King Jr. Um, so we've known this. But as far as like the religious freedom thing, ACLU, FBI, Muslims. So, as you know, they have been doing after like 9/11. The FBI literally had like this whole I want to just kind of say like a program where they were going in and they were trying to use informants, use entrapment tactics to kind of uh, gin up this called so-called resistance terrorist movement in the United States to kind of help them, um, but to get funding, get the accolades, and stuff like that. But here we are. This is the ACLU Ninth Circuit rules for Muslim Americans illegally surveilled by the FBI. Today, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled in favor of three Muslim Americans, Shaikh Yasir, Fazaga, Ali Malik, and Yasser Abdel Rahim, plaintiffs in FBI v. Fazaga, reversing an early dismissal of the case to hold the FBI accountable for violating their religious freedoms. Nearly decades ago, the FBI sent an informant to Orange County to surveil and harass our sacred community. Um, Ali Yasser and I decided to fight back, and after today's ruling, we'll have the courthouse doors finally open to us. We and the thousands of Muslims who the FBI targeted simply for praying in mosques to deserve justice began in 2011 after an informant shared that the FBI was surreptitiously surveilling mosques in Orange County under a secret government operation in 2006 and 2007. Based on sworn statements from by the informant, the operation was designed to collect information about Muslims who attended mosque in the region, regardless of any suspicion of wrongdoing. Today, the Ninth Circuit said the government does not get a free pass out of wrongdoing simply by shouting national security. Today's victories ensures our client will get their day in court. Obviously, they filed a suit. The government moved to dismiss the case by asserting the state secret's privilege, arguing that merely defending the case in court would threaten the disclosure of information sensitive to our national security. The district court agreed and dismissed most of the suit on that basis. Today's ruling established important protections against abuse by the government. Finally, nearly 20 years after the government spied on our clients because of their religion, we can look forward to vindicating their constitutional rights in court. Um, Also, if I remember correctly, FBI and 16-year-old um Muslim boy. Um, yeah. So this kind of had came out a while ago. Uh, all right. So this was another thing. The FBI had groomed a 16-year-old boy with brain development issues to become a terrorist. FBI agent befriended this teenager online. When he turned 18, he was arrested for supporting ISIS. Paul Ventura, father of 18-year-old Mateo Ventura, displays a photograph on his cell phone that shows what he describes as a photo of himself and his son Mateo on June 8, 2023, in Worcester, Worcester, Massachusetts. The Department of Justice announced the arrest of a teenager in Massachusetts on allegations of providing financial support to ISIS. A flurry of reports picked up on the arrest of Mateo Ventura, 18-year-old resident of the sleepy town of Wakefolk, echoing government claims that the international terrorist financier and ISIS supporter had just been busted in the United States. The DOJ press release on the case likewise trumpeted Ventura's arrest for knowingly concealing the source of material support or resources that he intended to go to a foreign terrorist organization. It's funny how they say that, but they don't talk about Israel. All right. The only problem with the case and how it has been described, however, is that to the uh, according to the government's own criminal complaint, Ventura had never actually funded any terrorist group. The only terrorist he is accused of ever being in contact with was the undercover FBI agent who befriended him online as a 6-year-old, solicited small cash donations in the form of gift cards, and directed him not to tell anyone else about their intimate online relationship, including family. The arrest has shaken up his family, who denied allegations that their son was a terrorist and said that he had been manipulated by the FBI. Ventura's father, Paul Ventura, told The Intercept that Mateo suffered from childhood development issues and had been forced to leave his school due to bullying from other students. He was born prematurely. He had brain development issues. I had the school do a neurosurgery evaluation on him, and they said that his brain was underdeveloped. He was suffering endlessly, bullying at school with other kids, taking food off his plate, tripping him in the hallway, humiliating him, and laughing at him. Contrary to the sensational narrative fed to the news media of terrorist financing in the United States, the charging documents show that Ventura gave an undercover FBI agent gift cards for pitifully small amounts of cash, sometimes $25 in increments. In his initial bid to travel to the Islamic State, the teenager balked, making up an excuse, but by the FBI's own account, to explain why he did not want to go. When another opportunity to travel abroad arose, Ventura balked again, staying home on the evening of his supposed flight instead of traveling to the airport. By the time the investigation was winding down, he had appeared ready to turn in his purported ISIS contact, an FBI agent, to the FBI. Funny, right? There's still much that remains, but as you can tell, don't want to read all of this. Obviously, you can go to the Intercept and read this. Um, it's a long thing, but literally it's purely just entrapment. And then when you look at FBI involvement with Gretchen Whitmer, um, oh shit, I forgot. I got a paywall. Um, oh, she was cute. Um, all right, so the defense had argued that this, obviously, for people who don't know, there was about a dozen guys, I want to say about 13, suspected of orchestrating a kidnapping plot against Governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer, in 2021. This was definitely after like COVID and the whole lockdowns and stuff. Um, but several of them had their cases acquitted, and for entrapment by the FBI informants. So, um, um, so there's definitely five that kind of got off. A couple, um, yeah. So y'all could definitely come take a look at this when y'all get a chance. So obviously, um, yeah, definitely special FBI special agents. So if anything sounds crazy, sounds weird, just please know, um, it's not good people working with you. Um, so um, like I said, a lot of black people understand this since COINTELPRO, counterintelligence program. So anytime you're dealing with some oddballs or just be very, very skeptical of just meeting random people who want to befriend you and talk you into some stupid shit. Okay, but yeah, let's get back to this video.
This. Do you think it is appropriate for the FBI to be sending agents, including counterterrorism agents, to the parents of children who went to school board meetings and asked about critical race theory in their schools, asked about the school's masking policy during COVID? Should those parents be treated as domestic terrorists?
Parents who have the courage to ensure their children are taught what they feel is right, and those who have the courage of their convictions to go houses of worship, in my book, will never be domestic terrorists.
I'm delighted to hear you say that. You're familiar, I am sure, with this memorandum issued by the Attorney General, the last Attorney General, Merrick Garland, directing the FBI and other law enforcement agencies to look into parents who went to these school board meetings. And we know from whistleblowers who've come forward to this committee and given us the evidence that, in fact, the FBI opened multiple cases against multiple parents across the nation, I believe, including in my home state of Missouri. Another gross abuse, incredible political power brought to bear against everyday citizens. Why? Because they went to a school board meeting that they're paying for and asked about what their kids were being taught. Once again, I can't imagine, I couldn't have ever thought this would happen in the United States of America. Will you find out who was involved in this policy within the FBI? Who agreed with it? Who implemented it? Who encouraged it? Will you find out that, Mr. Patel? Will you do an internal investigation? And will you make clear that those who supported this policy are appropriately disciplined? And will you make clear that the FBI will never do something like this again?
If confirmed and pursuant to your congressional request, absolutely, Senator.
Thank you.
So never is a strong word because Trump's got 4 years. Um, we have yet to even see if what's going to happen after those 4 years. Obviously, Trump is claiming to run a third term. Damn near so fucking impossible that the word impossible is truly impossible. So you'd have to have like a complete, utter amendment to the Constitution. Obviously, he could try to use, well, I didn't have two consecutive terms claim. Obviously, that hasn't been challenged. It's a relatively newer amendment considering it was only put in place after Franklin D. Roosevelt with his 4 terms. Um, I don't really know if JD Vance is really up for the task. He doesn't have the same kind of charisma, the same kind of umph as Donald Trump does. So we'll see. Obviously, has a lot to do with the state of the economy over the next 4 years, and it also has to do on a lot of factors. If the Democrats are able to pick somebody, they'll have to have a very strong, charismatic leader with a backbone. Seems kind of highly unlikely right now, but it's a possibility. So but never happen again. I mean, Josh, bro. I mean, I like you, but you probably got about 4 years. So that's just being realistic and optimistic.
Let me ask you this. Do you think it's appropriate for the FBI to target people of faith, particularly those who hold pro life convictions? Do you think it's appropriate for the FBI to single out and target people of faith in order to discourage the exercise of their First Amendment rights?
There can never be a targeting by law enforcement just based on their people's faiths.
And yet, under this last administration, the FBI and DOJ together brought numerous prosecutions under the FACE Act for nonviolent protests. President Trump has recently pardoned some of these folks, but it also includes individuals like Mark Houck from Philadelphia region, from Pennsylvania, who had an FBI SWAT team arrive at his door in the early hours of the morning, armed, of course, terrorizing him and his children, took him into custody. They charged him with a FACE Act violation. Why? Because he took his young son to a peaceful demonstration outside an abortion clinic. When his young son was shoved to the ground, he defended him. Mark Houck was acquitted by a jury, acquitted. Nevertheless, the FBI used their full resources, including a SWAT team, to try and terrorize him. Meanwhile, how many churches that were firebombed or pregnancy care centers that were firebombed, how many of them were protected by the last administration? Just about zero. It is an unbelievable instance of targeting. Mr. Patel, will you end this targeting? If you get to the FBI, if you are confirmed, will you end it? And will you make clear to all agency personnel that there can be no targeting on the basis of religious belief, and this will never happen again in the United States of America, at least not under your watch?
Senator, if confirmed, and it speaks to an issue we were talking about earlier, there will be no such targeting if I'm confirmed as FBI director. And the resources of the FBI, which are funded by the American taxpayer dollars, in the 7 minutes that you and I have been talking about, 2 people have died from fentanyl overdoses, 1 person has been shot to death in this country, and 3 people have been raped. The resources of the FBI will go to that mission set and that mission set alone, because America deserves a better brand of justice, and I'm going to give it to them.
Fantastic.
Bro, that's a hell of a fucking answer. Politician right there. That's a hell of a fucking answer.
My last question for you. Do you think it's appropriate for the FBI to try and pressure the largest technology corporations in the world, the most powerful corporations in the world, social media companies? Do you think it's appropriate for the FBI to pressure them to censor the political speech of everyday American citizens to try and violate the First Amendment? Is that appropriate, do you think, Mr. Patel?
No, Senator.
Will you put an end to this, Mr. Patel, if you are confirmed at the FBI?
Senator, if confirmed, I will work with Congress to expose any corrupt activities the FBI has participated in, especially involved in the censorship of free speech.
Because we know from the court cases that have been brought across this country, and we know from the voluminous factual finding that was done, and it's in the record, that the FBI and other agencies of this government under the last administration pressured, coerced these social media companies to censor speech of everyday Americans on a range of issues, from the Hunter Biden laptop to COVID to the Dobbs decision, you name it. They tried to censor them. The Constitution doesn't permit the government to do it. The FBI tried to get the social media companies to do it. Will you end this practice, Mr. Patel, once and for all?
Senator, I will always follow the law. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So to kind of give just a quick background of what he was talking about, I was looking at it earlier just to be reminded. What it's called the Twitter files. Obviously, after Elon Musk bought Twitter and turning it to X, we see that there was some suppression. So this is the part I was looking for. All right. So on December 26th, Elon Musk fired James Baker, Deputy General Counsel at Twitter, for allegedly vetting the information before it was passed to Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss, and providing explanation that Musk found unconvincing. Taibbi said that the planned publication of Twitter's internal documents related to the handling of the Hunter Biden laptop story have been delayed because of Baker's vetting. Baker had previously been general counsel for the FBI and investigated Russian interference in 2016. Boom. So this is this guy, um, James Baker. Obviously, criminal division at the DOJ. Worked as a federal prosecutor. In 96, he joined the Office of Intelligence Policy Review. This government agency handles all Justice Department requests for surveillance authorizations under the terms of FISA, the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, advises the Attorney General and all major intelligence gathering agencies on legal issues related to national security and surveillance, and coordinates the views of the intelligence community regarding intelligence legislation. Baker had often testified before Congress on behalf of Clinton and Bush administration intelligence policies, including defending the Patriot Act before the House Judiciary Committee regarding Baker's 2007 spying on the home front. The show's producer in the Washington Post um, referred Washington Post online chat referred to Baker as FISA himself. So, um, obviously, um, you know, he's worked for Ray Dalio, um, Wall Street guy, um, Twitter. So obviously, like this guy is literally this, he will spy on you. He's literally what everything Edward Snowden was talking about. He doesn't give zero fucks about your constitutional rights. I mean, hey, most of these motherfuckers don't. But yeah. So this is kind of what Josh Hawley was referring to Kash Patel um in that last questioning. So obviously there's very similar situations across all social media companies, Google, Facebook, Meta. Well, Meta and Facebook are the same, but yeah. So obviously, a lot of these guys they leave government, they leave the deep state, and they go work for social media companies. And please do not think that this is still not like this is just ended just because of the Twitter files, or just because you know Mark Zuckerberg gets on Joe Rogan's podcast. I mean, this they're gonna do what they're gonna do. They love to spy on you, so protect your neck. Make sure you stay away from weirdos come and talk to you. I was going to kind of give a little bit of a deep dive into Cash Patel, but I didn't want to make this a super long video. So, yeah, uh, like, share, comment. Obviously, questions, concerns, whatever, just comment, let me know. But y'all be good, y'all be safe, peace.